so long since I've sat down and just chatted for a video or like actually had to do like this format. So it's kind of exciting to just be able to sit here and chat with you. I am going to apologize in advance. I am sick, so if I sound a little rusty here and there, just bear with me. So today I'm going to be talking about 15 books that define my taste in romance. So this was a trend going around on Instagram a while back, and then I was like, because I'm a wordy bitch and I like to talk, I want to be able to actually explain why I picked the 15 books that I feel like defines my taste. So these are not my top 15 books of all time. However, I will say that each and every book I have here is a 5-star favorite of mine. Like, I do love each of these books, but I picked them for very specific reasons because they define a certain aspect of my taste in romance. And I'm not including any fantasies on here because I just wanted to keep this strictly romance. But anyways, there's also no like order to any of these. We're just gonna go ahead and jump into the piles. What do I want to start with? Let's start off with actually these two because yeah, why not? Rose and Connor deserve to be number one. So Kiss the Sky by Krista and Becca Ritchie. So this book for me here, why I put it in this 15 books list, it's because the banter in here and the fact that these two are so perfectly matched equals in every single aspect, it's perfection. I love couples that truly are on an even playing field. I obviously love when there are like certain times where one has like a leg up on the other, you know, like that dynamic comes into play. But truly these two are so unbelievably equally matched. I could not see them with any other person in the entire world because neither of them, they would grow so bored of other people so quickly. They truly are just perfect for each other because they can like bat back and forth nonstop, and it's so fun to read about. And also Rose has very much like Black Cat energy, and just seeing the way that Connor like absolutely loves and defends her, like when other people try to like make some sort of comments about the way that she is, he immediately shuts it down because he's like, you just don't get it, and like you don't even deserve to have her name in your mouth then. And like, I just love that. I love that energy. I'm such a sucker for that whenever that happens in other books. It happened in Reckless by Elsie Silver and I ate that shit up. And I just feel like this is like the best example of that. And it's such a perfect aspect of my taste. Next up, this one is because there's nothing more that I love than women. And the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abby. I am a supporter of women's wrongs, okay? Lana Myers is a heroine that I just love, and I've never rooted for someone harder in a romance book before. Seeing her carry out her revenge and every single person that she ticked off of her list, I felt like pride for her. I was like, go girl, go. Like, I couldn't put this down because I just needed to see Lana get what she needed to feel at peace because she is no man's peace, and I loved that, and I love women and I will always support women. So I had to include this one because we're superior. Lana's just like, top-notch heroine, strong, badass, everything I could ever want in a heroine. Now, on a lighter note, The Deal by Elle Kennedy. First of all, I love hockey romances so much. It's my favorite sports romance subgenre. It's also just my favorite sport, period. It's like the only sport that I actually care about. So I love reading a lot of hockey romances, and obviously this one is one of that, but also friends to lovers. Here's the thing, I would have never considered myself a friends to lovers kind of girl, but writing Take My Hand gave me a whole new appreciation for it. I loved writing a friends to lovers dynamic, and these two are just the epitome of like caring about the other person and just like putting their comfort and their feelings and everything above all else and just wanting to be there for the other person no matter what. Like, these two genuinely just had like such a pure connection, and I loved their friendship and how it kind of evolved, and watching them kind of go from just that like fun bantery friend place to being someone that they really can trust and rely on was just beautiful. I love their dynamic. The Mistake is my favorite book in that series, but I do truly think that the dynamic that Garrett and Hannah have is way more indicative of a certain aspect of my taste in romance that I really I'm when you see two characters who just truly want to be there for the other one. It's just, it's so good. And also I love college romances still. I'm like a sucker for new adult. Next up, I love taboo books. We know this. If this is your first video with me, I love taboo books, okay? It's kind of like my thing on here that I feel like I'm kind of known for, and I will forever and always be a taboo romance lover. And one that is, you know, one of my favorites is Always Been You by QB Tyler. We're not surprised. This one is adopted siblings in an age gap romance, and these two have to sneak around. Obviously, there's no blood relation, like I said, adopted, but truly, I love taboo books. I love when characters should not be together. Like these two, and for all intents and purposes, should never be together. And yet they just love each other and they're willing to choose each other and to fight for each other, even if that means, you know, like potentially being ousted from their family or like having people look at them weird. They just want each other ultimately, and they love the other one, and they're going to do what they can to fight for that person. And I love it. I love taboo books. I love pushing my boundaries when I'm reading, and Always Been You is just one of like the perfect examples of that. And it's just hot. Let's be honest, I love hot books, and this one's hot too. So like all of these are hot books, actually, I should say. So, you know, that's also a part of my taste. Now, next up, if there is one type of hero that I will forever just like be on my knees for, is a sad, broken bad boy. Okay, there's something about it. The sadder they are, the more I love them. And Phoenix from The Words is such a sad, broken man during the majority of this book. And let me tell you, I can't help it. Even when he's mean, even when he's toxic, I'm still just like, well, he's hurting, and like I want to defend him even when his actions are like, dude, you're making it hard for me to defend you. So this is like one of my favorite types of heroes. So The Words by Ashley Jade, this is a rock star romance, and also the heroine is plus sized. I love seeing plus sized heroines in books, and also their like hate to love dynamic is really good. But I have some more like hate to love ones that I'm going to get to, but truly for this one specifically, it is the brooding bad boy. Okay, I'm a sucker for it. I'm always gonna love it. And also just seeing someone like struggle so hard mentally and emotionally, to then see them at the end finally like have found their way. Shut up. It's amazing. Next up, I love mafia books, and I specifically love captor-captor romances. Captor-captive romances. And those two meld into the most beautiful combination with Twisted Pride by Cor Riley. I love the entire Camorra Chronicles, and also I really love like the old school kind of Italian mafia books. Now that's more the Born in Blood Chronicles. The Camorra ones are a spin-off, and they're in Las Vegas, and they're a little bit more like modern. The captor-captor dynamic here just works because these two hate each other, and Serafina, even though Remo is absolutely insane, she can match his, and she's not just going to be broken beneath him. She's not like just going to give up, and even though he does everything in his power to break her, she won't. And when he sees that she's so resilient and that she can meet at his level, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. And I love mafia books too. I love like mafia universes. So this one had to go in there as well. I don't think I can really ever say that I have been a fan of insta love. I can think of very few books that I actually like insta love in, because I am just a slow burn girl through and through. And I think part of that has to do because I love taboo and forbidden romances, and I feel like in those should be slower burn, because those two should be fighting it, and they shouldn't just be immediately throwing like everything to the wind and like getting together early. And I think one of the books that does the slow burn the best is Sweet Dandelion by Macaulay Smeltzer. This one is a student-teacher romance, or like guidance counselor and student romance. And I love the slow burn that happens between Danny and Lachlan. This book is huge. It makes you work for it, but I feel like it makes the payoff so much better, and you just see how much these two care about each other. And also another thing that I love in books is mental health representation, and this one does it. It's so good. I love this book. This is probably one of the standalones that I recommend the most, one of my favorite standalone romances of all time. I've actually been wanting to do a reread of it. I've heard the audiobook is pretty good, so maybe I'll do it on that. If you're looking for a good slow burner, oh, you've come to the right place with this one. Now, here's the thing. No one tried to like argue the definition of a romance with me, because I'm not trying to claim that this book is a romance here. If anything, I think then it would be fiction with a romance subplot, because obviously for it to be romance, it has to end with happily ever after, but there can still be love stories that do not end in HEAs. In this one, there is something that I do love about a non-HEA, and I know a lot of people don't, but I love kind of being devastated. And there's something obviously about romance that when you go into it, you're getting a guaranteed happy ending. but I do kind of like them when I find the ones that don't end that way. And one of the ones that has stuck with me to this day is Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. This one also obviously can fit into like my Taboo love and everything else, but truly the ending of this book has like haunted me to this day. I read this back in 2020 and I have never forgotten about it. It's truly one of the endings. It's like the most gut-wrenching book I think like I've ever read. I mean, I could make a list and it would easily be in the top 3. I won't say anything more because I obviously don't want to spoil anything, but truly I do love a non-happy ending. Every once in a while, not all of them, but I like to cry at books. So next up, I am a sucker for the bad boy who is only good for his girl and like will turn for her and her alone. And that is Savage Lover by Sophie Lark Nero. I know so many people do not like this one in the Brutal Birthright series, but this is my absolute favorite. And this one has more to do with like race cars or like driving cars more than Mafia. I personally don't care. I actually really like that because it kind of gives me Fast and Furious energy. But Camille is definitely not like Nero's typical type, but he cannot help but be drawn to her because they share the same passions. And when they discover that and he kind of like has his eyes open to her and realizes that the girls that he's constantly like having on a running loop in his life are not doing it for him anymore, and he's prepared to put all of that aside for Camille and Camille only. Dear God, it gets me every time. It truly does. And I just will be a sucker for the player turning for the one woman forever and always. Next up, I love Hate to Love. That line between love and hate is so thin and so easily blurred, and I feel like there is not a book that has done Hate to Love as good as this one than Garen Park by Nordica Knight. This is an motocross romance and they're rivals, but they have been like bred to hate each other from like childhood. Their dads have like instilled this rivalry in them that has lasted them through to adulthood, and they hate each other. When I say that they hate each other, I mean they are quite literally beating each other up. I'm not claiming that this is healthy. This is extremely toxic, but we'll get into toxic in a minute. But this truly like they're always like pinning each other by their throats and being like, I hate you and I hate how much I want you. That's what I want. I want them to hate the person and hate them even more because of how much the person makes them want them. And that's Garen Park right here. So good. Like genuinely, I don't think this book, like I don't think I'll find another Hate to Love that does it as good as these two. Now though, toxicity, and it also can be wrapped into a lot of things that I love, like forbidden, age gaps, taboo, but we're gonna specifically go with toxic. And also I love series that follow the same couple. I love companion books are great, but I really love a series that you get to follow characters over multiple books because I feel like you just get that much more invested into their journeys and into their happiness at the end of them. And y'all know it had to be on here, Balance by Lucia Franco. Listen, coach athlete, which again, one of my favorite tropes, so rolls into that. But these two characters, truly, they're so bad for each other. But by the end of the 5-book series, you're like, these two are so perfect for each other, and there's no one else in the entire world that could make them happier than these two. Like, they're perfect, but they are so messy and toxic for 4 books. I mean, you could even argue in Dismount they kind of are, but in Dismount, like, they kind of get it together a little bit. But they truly, like, there's cheating, there's a lot of taunting, there's a lot of messing with the other person and retaliation. Truly, they're so unhealthy, but they're so good. They're just soulmates, and I love it. And also the coach-athlete dynamic is super fun. This book encompasses a lot of my favorite things. Let's see. We only have 4 left. Another thing that I love is when characters have to fight for each other and when they truly have only the other to rely on. Like, obviously that's not healthy to be like they only have each other, but I just love it when they will choose the other above all other people, and also even above themselves. And when you just know that they are the soulmates of the soulmates, like across the spans of the universe, you know that these two will always find each other. Mana Cold by Senlin Yu. This is a Dramione fan fiction, and it is truly like one of the most masterful things that I've ever read in my entire life. This is the most insane storytelling, how you can go from just hating a character to then seeing that he's done these things all for her benefit. I genuinely can't even like talk about this. I just love this so much. It's huge. Once again, you just really go on a journey with these two, and I just love when characters are soulmates, and you could not convince me that these two aren't soulmates. Like, I know that obviously in regular Harry Potter universe they like don't even interact really, but or like I think she punches him in the face at one point, whatever. I know that that's not like actual, but this is what I choose to believe is actually between these two. Okay, next up, I'm a sucker for Brother's Best Friend, and also similar to Lana Myers, but like Lana Myers is a bit more of like a vigilante type heroine, where I just love a heroine who just has like such strength about her. And I mean, obviously I'm not trying to like describe, because obviously Lana's very like strong, but like she's a more extreme example where I just feel like, you know, this is a heroine that is a badass. She knows it. She wants to make decisions over her own life. And if that means, you know, hurting other people because it's what she needs to do, that's ultimately what she's going to do. And she's not going to apologize for that. Banks from Hideaway by Penelope Douglas, one of my favorite heroines, and also Brother's Best Friend trope, which again, I eat up every single time. I specifically love Kai too. Like this couple is my favorite of the Devil's Night series couples, but you know, I do love the Brother's Best Friend trope, and truly just Banks is an incredibly strong heroine. She has had to deal with a lot in her life, and just always having these men around her who just like, they just put her down, and she's just like, you're not gonna do that to me. Love her. Next, a certain topic that I'm always really drawn to in romance books is talking about like religion and kind of like deconstructing from religion, or just questioning. I'm not here to like say anything about anyone's beliefs. I just really enjoy reading about discussions of religion and romance and how it kind of like relates to people's journeys. And An Unfurl by Elodie Hart, I think, is a great example of that. Our heroine Belle was raised in a very, very strict Catholic household, and her father is like still very strict and very like oppressive of her and like who she is as a person, and like not wanting her to explore anything about herself, and like she got sent to an all-girls school, whatever. And now as an adult, she's really questioning a lot of that and just trying to work through that. I love it. I love reading about that. It's something like Priest does it really well. That Sick Love, kind of more on the cult vibe. I really like it. And also the way that then some things from Belle's past get like healed for her. Listen, obsessed. And last but not least, I love dark romance. I love dark romance. Some of the books on this list already I think classify as dark romance, but that is forever and always, it's always the recommendation video that you guys want from me, but I feel like I can only read so many dark romances to like keep pumping out those videos every couple months for you guys. But dark romance is one of my favorite genres, and also I love cults. Like, I love documentaries about cults. I'm very fascinated by cults. I grew up watching the Duggars. Like, I'm very intrigued by cults. And both those combined in Vibe by Liza James. This is a dark sapphic cult romance, and one of our heroines is an escapee of a cult, and it's just, once again, it's utterly fascinating to read about. It's dark and twisted and messed up, but then seeing the love that Ruby and Aura have for each other, and like fighting against like the people, you know, to be together. Listen, I love it. I love it. I eat it up. And also, obviously, it's dark. Anyways, that is 15 books that I feel like kind of encompass all of my different tastes, you know, from like the lighter ones of like hockey and Friends to Lovers to like the dark and Taboo. As I've like read more and gotten older, I feel like I've just kind of narrowed in on being like, I'm kind of over trying to like books. Like, I just know what I like and I know what works for me, and especially now that I don't have as much time to read, I just kind of prioritize what I know works for me. That is it for today's video. I don't know what's going to be up next week, quite frankly. I think it'll just kind of depend on how Starting Line is coming along. I think I roughly have about like 40,000 words left to write by May 1st. So, you know, I got quite a bit of work ahead of me, but I'm chugging away little by little. I'm chugging away. So I will see. Whatever I get up next week, I'll get up next week. So that is it for today's video, and I will see you when I see ya.